If you want to actually grow on YouTube in 2026, this is your full playbook. No fluff, no BS, because YouTube isn't about luck. It's not about timing. It's not about fancy equipment. It's about following a simple system that I call the 4 C's of YouTube. If you don't know me, I'm Sam Gaudet, Dan Martell's creative director, and I've helped him grow his YouTube channel from under 10K subscribers to over 2.7 million, growing his total audience size from under 100K to over 10 million across all platforms. All that generating multi-8 figures in revenue. So I'm not guessing, I know exactly what works. So without further explanation, these are the 4 C's of YouTube. So this is what you'll walk away with today. Number 1, the 4 C's of YouTube, my 4-part YouTube system to actually help you grow your personal brand. Number 2, actionable tactics. I'm not going to sit here and tell you principles in theory. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I've implemented this on Dan's personal brand so you can implement it in yours. And at the end of the video, I'll share with you my free YouTube scripting template that you can go and implement on your YouTube channel today. So these are the 4 C's of YouTube. The first one is getting somebody to click. How do you get somebody to click on your video? If you look at this video here, these 5 AI businesses will make you $1 million with 0 employees. There's a reason why that video performed. And it comes down to 3 T's, right? Topic, title, and thumbnail. So let's double click on topic, because where most people go wrong is they think camera gear and software is important, editing and design, formats, hooks. But at the end of the day, the reason why most videos perform not only on YouTube, but everywhere else is the topic that you pick. Because all things being equal, I can make a video about getting abs in 90 days. And I could make a video about how to grow a B2B SaaS company in 90 days. And with the same editing, same camera gear, same format, same hooks, the video about abs is going to perform a lot better than the video about B2B SaaS. Why? Because of TAM, right? Total addressable market. The total addressable market on getting abs in 90 days is a lot wider, which means more people are going to want to watch that video, as opposed to the TAM on building a B2B SaaS company, very small. So that topic isn't as interesting on YouTube, but you don't want to optimize for the most popular topic. That's why I've distilled my topic selection method down to 3 simple things. Number 1 is demand, right? How many people actually care about that topic? And that is 100% figuring out the total addressable market. But there's a few ways that I like to test for demand. The first way is I create a research account. So I create an account on YouTube, start a new Google account, and I literally go and find all my competitors and I subscribe to their channel. I start watching their videos. What that's going to do is make my browse page on YouTube full of ideas in my niche. The key here is you don't want to copy, you want to get inspired by the topic. So let's say I see a video on AI tools, right? I'm not going to use the same title and thumbnail. I'm just going to get inspired by the topic of AI tools and I'm going to make a video on that topic, because a lot of people think that just title and thumbnail impact the performance of your videos. But that's not entirely true, right? Your topic is what is most important. The second way I like to research topics is using research tools like 1 of 10. You could use tons of other tools. I know there's vidIQ on here, but what you want to do is set your filters for anywhere between a 2 to 4x outlier. All an outlier is a video that's performed disproportionately better than the average video on that channel. So if a channel gets on average 10,000 views on a video and then all of a sudden they get 100,000 views on a video, that means that video got 10 times more views than the average video, which means it's a 10x outlier. You only want to look at videos within the last 6 months, right? Because I think demand ebbs and flows over time, and you don't want to get inspired by topics that have been hot 7 years ago because they might not be hot today. And the other key here is you want to prioritize smaller accounts. You don't want to go follow and get inspired by accounts that are over 1 million subscribers, because those accounts, every single video is going to hit, right? What you want to do is only get inspired by smaller accounts that, maybe you have 10,000 to 100,000 subscribers, but get all of a sudden an outlier that gets over 250,000 views, right? That is interesting to me. Way more interesting than a video that gets 1 million views on a 1 million subscriber account. And the key here, do not copy, just get inspired by the topics and create your own title and thumbnails. Which brings us to the second thing I like to keep in mind when picking topics for my videos, which is fit. Because for example, if I made a video here on this account where I talk about content creation and I talked about how to get abs in 90 days, I do not think that video is going to do well on my account. Why? Because it doesn't have fit with my audience. That's not what people come to me for, right? And if you're making videos just chasing demand, doing every single cool trend, you're never going to get sustainable growth on YouTube because you're not hearing your audience out. And there's 3 sections that I like to keep in mind when making videos for my audience, right? And Patty Galloway calls this CCN fit, right? If you don't know Patty Galloway, he's grown Red Bull's YouTube channel. He was Mr. Beast's YouTube guy for a little while, and he's probably the most knowledgeable person on YouTube. And it all comes down to this, right? You want to make sure that all your videos are applicable to your core, casual, and new audience, not just your core audience. A lot of people just make their videos for their niche, but they're missing out on viral growth because they only serve the person that is going to buy today. And so what you want to do is pick topics that resonate with your core audience, right? The people that view and buy your stuff, your casual audience, the people that view your stuff but don't necessarily buy your stuff yet, and then your new audience, the people that have never seen your face before. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to actually serve your core audience and then also get viral growth, right? Because as an example for us, a topic that does really well and has really good CC and fit with our audience is whenever we make a video about meetings being the biggest time waster in any company, right? Where Dan talks about meetings and he shits on meetings, those videos tend to perform really well. Why? Because it resonates with our core audience, the business owner that maybe he runs a lot of meetings and he shouldn't. And then our casual and new audience, the people that have never seen our face before and the people that maybe casually watch our videos, maybe have a job and they're on a lot of meetings that could have been an email, right? And so they're resonating with that topic as well. And they're in the comments lighting those up. What you want to do in those videos is you start really wide, right? You say, meetings are the biggest time waster in any company. And then at the end of your videos or towards the middle, you actually solve the pain and the problem for your core audience. The same is true on YouTube, right? What you want to do is progressively overload your content with deeper and deeper knowledge so that you're actually serving your audience. For example, in that video, we serve our core audience by sharing really tactical advice at the end of that video. For example, Dan says, instead of having a lot of meetings, have a really clear scorecard, KPIs and owners for those KPIs, instead of relying on a lot of meetings. And what that does is it gets us a 2.3 million view video, but then also serves our core audience. Which brings us to the third thing I like to keep in mind when picking topics for my YouTube videos, which is interest, right? And I've got a super advanced strategy for you to pick videos that you're only interested in, right? It's kind of a joke, but if you're not interested in a video, don't do it, right? Why? Because people feel that shit, right? They feel when you're inauthentic. They feel when you're just chasing trends. And if you're seeing a lot of videos that have, demand and fit with your audience, and you're not interested in the topic or talking about it, don't make that video. I see a lot of creators make that mistake where they back themselves into a corner where they can't get out of because they just over-optimize for their audience. Because on the flip side of that, right, if you're only making videos that you're excited in, your audience is going to feel that. And I think that's why Dan's been able to grow so fast. I think that's why my account's doing really well, is because when I share these things about YouTube, you feel my excitement, right? I'm super excited to share this with you guys. And that's what I think most creators should think about when they're making videos is, are you genuinely interested in the topic that you're talking about? And if not, cut that shit out. So topic's really important, but there's a couple more things that you need to keep in mind to get people to actually click on the video. Let's get into title, right? How do you actually write titles that people want to click on? And I could sit here and give you guys 100 YouTube titles that I think are going to perform, but that's giving you a fish today. It's not teaching you how to fish. What I want to do in this video is teach you how to fish, right? And there's 4 emotions that I like to keep in mind when thinking about writing titles for my audience, right? Hopes, dreams, fears, blockers. Hopes being short-term, what do they want, in the near future? Dreams being, what do they want long-term? Fears being, what are they scared of? And then blockers being, what are the limiting or negative beliefs around the outcome that they need to overcome to actually want to watch your video? I'm going to give you guys examples right now. So let's say the topic that we picked for the video that we're outlining is how to make money, right? I'm going to hit it from different angles. So if I wanted to hit it from a hopes standpoint, I would say how to make $1 million in 2026, short term. And then if I wanted to hit on the dreams, right? If I wanted to achieve financial freedom in the next 12 months, I do this, right? Hitting on that dream of maybe possibly achieving financial freedom, which is the long-term goal of your viewer. Now let's get into the negative stuff, right? Fears. You'll never become rich until you understand this. Hitting on that fear that, they might not understand something that they need to know to get rich. And then blockers, how to get rich without talent, luck, or a trust fund, right? Maybe hitting on that limiting belief or negative belief around like, oh, rich people are just lucky, have a trust fund, etc. The key here is you see how every single emotion can completely package a video in a different way. And what you want to keep in mind is what emotion do you want your viewer to feel when they see that video. And you'll notice that on different channels for us, aspirational titles, right, hopes, dreams, tend to perform better than fears and blockers. And so you want to make sure that you understand your audience so that you can pick the right titles for your videos. But we're not done yet, right? We went over title. How do you actually pick really good thumbnails for your videos? And there's a few rules that I like to keep in mind when making really good thumbnails. And if you look at all these 6 videos, those are our best performing videos in the last year. And there's a reason why all those videos performed, right? It's because we follow the 3-element rule, right? The first rule is having a big face with a clear emotion. People are drawn to faces, right? We like looking at eyeballs. And if you don't put a face on your thumbnails, 1, you're not going to pull as many views as you could. And then 2, you're not going to create facial recognition with your audience, right? Now that we have Dan's face plastered all over our thumbnails, people associate Dan's face to getting a result. And so next time we put Dan's face on our thumbnails, or even if he goes on another person's podcast, his face is a visual hook. And that's pairing yourself with a result over time. And that is very, very important if you want to build a long-term personal brand. The second part here is you want to have a clear emotion, right? You don't want your emotion to be neutral or even unclear. And if you look at every single emotion that we tapped into, right? Hopes, dreams, fears, blockers, in the titles on this section, every single facial expression matches that emotion, right? Stop wasting your life. 7 things I quit to go from broke to millionaire. That middle video, he is clearly in distress. He's clearly upset. He's clearly, a little bit tired. He's got those wrinkles on his forehead. And that communicates the emotion to the viewer. The biggest mistake you can make is make, a super negative video like, stop wasting your life, and then have a big smile on your face, right? You're disconnecting with your audience, and that's not going to make people click. The next part here is you want to have short text, 3 to 5 words. Most people browse YouTube thumbnails. They don't actually read them word for word, right? And I see a lot of people writing Bibles on their thumbnails where they expect people to read. I don't know about you, but last time I've been on YouTube homepage, I'm just scanning the text on screen. Whatever catches my eye, I click on it, right? So you want 3 to 5 words max. If you look at our best performing videos here, all 4 have 4 words on screen, not 10, not 20, not 25, 4 words on screen. That's really important. And the next part is you want to have one visual that reinforces the concept, right? This is optional, but for the bottom right video with the money flying around, that's an example of using a visual or a concept that reinforces the point, right? You don't want to distract from the viewer and creating something that, would distract them from actually, clicking on the video. What you want to do is have a really clear object and visual to get somebody to lean in. The key here with thumbnails is you never want to repeat your title. I see a lot of people just take their title and then write it on the thumbnail. You have 2 options to get somebody to click on, right? Your title and then your thumbnail. So why would you waste one on just repeating the same thing? The key here is to get them to feel an emotion. You have 2 ways to make them feel that emotion. Make sure to leverage those. So that's how you get people to click on the video, which is the first C. But there's 3 more C's that we need to get through to get our YouTube channel to fucking blow up. The second one is capture, right? Also known as a hook. You want to get somebody hooked in the first 30 seconds of a video. But how do you do this, right? Because a lot of people think that hooks come down to, having a hook bank. But I think if I want to teach you how to fish, I have to teach you the principles behind why a hook works. And there's 3 viral principles that I believe are the most important when it comes to a hook. The first one is reassure. The second one is elevate. And the third one is open a loop. And don't worry, I'm going to break down every single one for you guys right now. So how do you reassure someone, right, that they clicked on the right video? Because this isn't 2016 anymore. You can't clickbait people into watching your video. And so in the first 30 seconds of the video, you have to share a really clear promise for what's going to be taught in the video. And it also has to relate to the title and thumbnail. Imagine if I made a video that was like how to make money in 2026. And then you clicked on that video and all of a sudden I'm saying something like, oh, the other day I was doing a puzzle with my grandma and then we went on a walk and then you lost me. You're not going to watch the rest of the video. You're going to click off as soon as possible. So what you have to do in the first 30 seconds is share a really clear promise of why somebody clicked on that video. The next part is you want to share proof, right? Somebody's going to ask themselves in their head, why you? Why should I listen to you? So you want to address that concern as soon as possible by sharing why you're the person that's credible enough to share that information, also known as proof. And then you want to handle objections, right? As soon as possible, handle their objections that might come up in their head so that they watch the rest of the video. And I'll show you guys an example right now. This is a real example of a real video, right? I'm going to share with you the 6 phases to scale your business from $0 to $1 million in 12 months. Really clear promise. These phases have allowed me to go from 80-hour weeks to working less than 5 hours a week and make over 8 figures a year. Clear proof, and I know why I'm listening to you. They're the same 6 phases I took over 10,000 of my coaching clients through to help them scale their business. So if you're thinking this doesn't work for me, trust me, it will, right? Having some proof in there because you've got over 10,000 coaching clients, and then also having some objection handling in there. If somebody's like, oh, this doesn't work for me. Well, I've taught over 10,000 people. How could this not work for you? But we're not done yet, right? We've reassured the viewer. We need to now elevate the promise. And what does that look like, right? We want to scale the promise by, sharing extra content, free bonuses, teases. You've seen me do this in this video when I said, I'm going to share with you the free YouTube scripting template at the end. Wink, wink. I also do this. And then urgency, right? You want to make it a now thing. You want to make it time-based, right? This will only work for this year, or you want to make it relevance-based, right? Maybe if a new AI came out and now you can only use that AI to solve the problem. And so this is what that looks like in practice, right? I'll even break down phase 6 in real time with you and give you a free template that you can use to estimate the phase of business that you're in. We scale the promise, right? And then don't sleep on this because with the rise of AI, building a business is the only viable way to make $1 million in 2026. Adding some urgency in there, right? Using some relevance-based stuff in there to get somebody to watch the video now. But we're not done yet, right? We reassured them, we've elevated the promise. Now, how do you actually open a loop in the viewer's minds so they get addicted to watching the rest of the video, right? Because all the hook isn't just to retain somebody for the first 30 seconds. It's also to get them to watch all the way till the end. And that's the whole point of opening a loop, right? So what you want to do, and you've seen me do this in most of my videos and in all of Dan's YouTube videos, you show the roadmap on screen. You show them what they're going to get, right? 5 steps, 6 steps. You show it on screen and you blur them out so people are curious, what are the 6 steps? to scale your business, right? What are the 4 C's of getting views on YouTube? And that is what you want to do in your videos, is show a roadmap so that people actually know what they're going to get out of the video and get curious so they watch till the end. And the next part is you want to share a unique mechanism, right? You either say the 10-80-10 rule, the 4 C's is an example, but share something that is familiar but unknown so that people get interested in what you're saying and watch your video till the end. So this is an example of a perfect hook. Feel free to take a screenshot and I'll go through it with you guys, right? That's why I'll give you my 10-80-10 principle so that you can execute on this opportunity even faster, sharing a unique mechanism. So without further explanation, these are the 6 phases to scale your business, and then you show the roadmap on screen. Why? Because you want people to get curious about the steps so that they watch till the end. So we got people to click, we got people to get captured in the first 30 seconds. Now, how do we actually get them to watch the whole video, right? Consume it till the end. And there's 3 things that I believe are the most important when it comes to retention, because a lot of people think that retention is about, editing tricks, flashy graphics, and cutting every 3 seconds. But at the end of the day, retention comes down to 3 simple principles: structure, pacing, and the sacred timeline. And I'm going to break down every single one for you guys in real time. So let's get into structure, right? This is how every single YouTube video for Dan is structured. That's how I structure my YouTube videos. And it's the most important thing that I could teach in all of this video, which is point, explain, illustrate, lesson. This is super important. If you want your videos to perform, you have to follow a formula, right? So point, what is it? Explain, why does it matter? Illustrate, use an example, story, analogy to make it land. And then lesson, provide a clear, actionable next step. So I'll show you an example right now. Point, phase 1, and this is the same video that we just outlined the hook for. Phase 1, delegate your tasks, right? Explain. Most entrepreneurs hold on to things that they know they shouldn't, right? They hold on so tight. Illustrate. I could use a client story here, right? I looked at a client's time, I audited his time, and I noticed that he was spending all his time in his email. And then you go into the lesson, right? So I taught him this delegation framework called the 10-80-10 rule, right? The unique mechanism that we teased at the start. 10% upfront, I do ideation with him. So I teach him how to do the thing. 80% execution is done by him. So he goes out and does, the work. And then 10% integration at the end is basically him coming back to me, showing me what he did, and I give him feedback to make it a 10 out of 10. That is how you want your videos to flow. You don't want it to be long drawn out stories. You want it to be super simple, tactical advice that people can take and implement in their business or in their life today. And guess what? You don't have to do that once. You can do that anywhere between 2 to 6 times. I've seen videos do this 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. One of our best videos on Dan's channel is 40 brutal truths I wish I knew in my 20s. That video has 40 points in there. And we follow this framework to a T to get people to actually lean in. They need to feel like they're getting value. The next part is pacing. So once we have a really good structure in our video, how do we pace our video so that people get addicted to watching till the end? And once you see this, you can't unsee it. It's like Pandora's box. You'll watch any YouTube video on any big creator's account like Mr. Beast, and they follow this asymmetric pacing to a T, right? What you want to do is your first point to be maybe a minute, your second point to be maybe 2 minutes, your third point maybe to be 3 minutes, and then your fourth point, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. But you want to create this illusion of progress, right? If you've ever watched an infomercial and you see the progress bar going really fast at first and then it slows down over time, that is what you're doing with asymmetric pacing. You're creating this illusion of progress so that people feel like they're getting value a lot faster than they actually are, and you're going to get them to watch till the end. So that's structure, pacing. Now let's get into the sacred timeline. What is a sacred timeline? If you've ever watched Loki on Netflix, they have this thing called the sacred timeline, and essentially if you break the sacred timeline, you're fucked, right? And that's the whole point I want to make in this video, is if it doesn't serve the promise of the video, cut it out as soon as possible, whether it's in post or in your scripts. But you want your promise, right, if it's making money or if it's growing on YouTube, to be reiterated every 30 seconds to a minute in your video. And if anybody's wondering, what did I click this video on for anyways, you already missed the point. And what you want to do in all your videos is to have a clear timeline that is sacred. And if anything doesn't serve that timeline, that promise, you cut it out as soon as possible. And what that's going to do is keep people retained on your video because they get reminded why they clicked on the video in the first place. So we got people to click, we got them captured in the first 30 seconds, then we got them to consume the video till the end. Now, how do you actually convert that viewer into one of two things, either a buyer or a binge watcher? And I'm going to show you guys 2 strategies that I use in all our YouTube videos. The first one is a call to action. The second one's a recommendation. Let's get into call to action. I believe that every single YouTube video should have a free resource. Why? Because I don't think you should get married on the first date. And if someone wants to work with you, they should go down your funnel, not just go to a call page. But there's a few key things that I like to keep in mind whenever I'm sharing a free resource on our YouTube video. The first thing is I want to put it at least 30% through the video, right? not at the end. A lot of people put their CTAs at the end of every single video for a free resource. The problem with that is the average retention on a YouTube video is around 30%, right? 25 to 30%. That means that most people, 60 to 75% of people, never see your CTA if you only put it at the end. And if you move it to around the 30% mark, retention on YouTube at 30% on average is around 50 to 60%, doubling your opt-ins by just changing where you do the CTA. And so if you're doing all your CTAs at the end of every single YouTube video, move it to the first 30% and you'll see your opt-ins skyrocket. And you want to make it super clear where they can get it. Second, you want to make it the first link in the description, or at least the first thing in the description. You don't want to make it hard for them to find stuff. The amount of people that I see put 10, 15, 20 links in their description and bury their resource at the end is insane. And if you want to convert the most amount of people to your free lead magnet, you have to put it first thing at the top. Not second, not third, not fourth. You have to put it first. And the last part is you want to remind them at the end of the video. Even though you put the resource at the start, right, in the first 30%, what I found is that if you remind people at the end of the video that they can get the resource, those people that got tons of value that watched till the end will convert at a higher rate. And I've seen that increase our opt-ins by 10 to 20% by just mentioning it one more time at the end of the video. So that's how you convert somebody to a buyer, by using a call to action. But how do you actually convert them to a binge watcher, right? And if you've ever watched Netflix, like me, and not ashamed to admit this, you're a little bit too deep in the shows, right? You're at episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, and you see that autoplay. And at the end of every episode, you get automatically thrown into another episode. That is by design. And unfortunately, YouTube doesn't allow you to do this with your audience unless they're on a playlist. They're going to send people to a next video, whether it's your video or somebody else's. But what you can do is recommend a video to them. And what I like to do is identify the next logical problem, right? If this video helped them go from 0 to a million, go find the video that helps them go from 1 to 10 and recommend that video, right? The next logical video that they need to now watch. And you want to frame it as a continuation. You don't want to frame it as here's a random video that you could watch. It's like, no, this is the next logical step that you need to take on your journey. And the last part is you want to point to a specific video. Yes, YouTube allows you to recommend 4, 5, 6 videos on screen, but that will just confuse people. What you have to do is recommend one video that they should watch next and watch people binge your content. So this is what we went through today, right? We got people to click on the video by using topic, title, thumbnail. We got them to consume the first 30 seconds of the video by using reassure, elevate, and open loop. And we got them to consume the video by using structure, pacing, and the sacred timeline. And we got them to convert to either a binge watcher or a buyer by using call to actions and recommendations. And as promised, if you want my free YouTube scripting template, just find me on Instagram, message me the word YouTube, and I'll send you the free resource. Watch this video next if you want to learn how to grow on social media so fast that it kind of feels like cheating.